worry about this. He says in an article here from Paul Joseph Watson today, Obama urges wrong-headed Americans to just trust the government more. He says, yes, Americans have been tricked by wily Republicans into thinking that their government hates them. He says, we've got to reprogram them so they will accept more federal spending and help Obama build beautiful piles of debt for our children pay off. That's a quote from Keith Koffler. So, yeah, they hate us for our freedoms. I think, that's the what everybody was saying about the Muslims. I don't think they hated us for our freedoms, but I think that the government does hate us for our freedoms. They're trying to do everything they can to take them away. And maybe one of the things that's going to come out of Common Core is maybe people will get over this left-right spectrum, and maybe they will come in and realize that this really is an alliance of big government and big business. It really is an oligarchy that is set out to shut down every activity that isn't, and take away everything that any of us own so that just a few people own and control everything. Take a look at this story out of Michigan that came up yesterday. You've got Michigan now banning backyard chickens and small farms from having livestock. We've already seen them come after what they called feral pigs. Now, of course, they weren't feral pigs. They were free-range pigs that farmer there, Mark Baker, had, and many other farmers. He kept them outside rather than having them locked up into a factory. And because they were outside, in the Michigan winter, he had a breed of pigs that had hair on them instead of the hairless pigs that you find in the factory farms. The factory farms didn't like that, so they came out and told all these farmers that they had to shut down their operations, force some of them to shoot their pigs. He fought them for 3 years, and he needed to have support of people. We're sending him money because they were threatening to put several $1,000 fines against anybody who bought one of his pigs. So he had to keep these pigs. He couldn't sell them. He couldn't get rid of them. But he eventually prevailed. And you know what they did? They didn't actually relax the rule for everybody else. They did the same thing for him that the TSA did for John Corbett, who challenged them. They said, all right, we'll give you a pass. So they gave Mark Baker a pass and said, we'll let you keep your pigs. They still left the rule in place. Just like they told John Corbett when he challenged the TSA, they said, we'll put you on a preferred flyers list and we won't hassle you anymore. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to shut people up. But now Michigan has gone even farther. And even a woman who has 80 acres, which most of us who live in the city would consider to be a lot of land, even she is told that she's going to have restrictions placed on what she can grow because they want to make sure that the food supply is controlled by the corporations. Now, we talked earlier this week, we talked about what was going on in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We talked about the long record that they've had there of shootings, of fatal shootings by the police. They have killed more people than the city of New York has. And New York, of course, has 16 times the number of people there. So on Monday, there was and you can see the footage there if you're watching this on our live feed here. You can see the footage of the city council meeting. They actually took over the seats of the city council. They served an arrest warrant to the chief of police there because he's not doing anything about this. This all came to light nationally, of course, back in April when they had a video of a homeless man who was shot for camping. And as you can see from the video, the guy was absolutely no threat to them. If you shoot somebody that is not threatening you, it doesn't matter if you're wearing a police uniform or not. That's still murder. If you're not doing it to defend your life, if you're not doing it to protect someone else's life, that is murder. But they've changed the rules of engagement in New Mexico. They now have a shoot-first curriculum. And it's very disturbing to see this happen. So they took over the meeting. It was a very raucous meeting. What did the Albuquerque City Council do? Well, they didn't change anything about the police there. What they did was they created some new rules, and Paul Joseph Watson covered this yesterday to cover a meeting that was going to be held last night. They doubled down on it. They essentially did a Lindsey Graham where he says, you don't get a lawyer. Shut up. That's what they told the people in Albuquerque. Effectively, the city council increased security, made new rules, and told the people to shut up. They're not going to reform anything. And I want to show you a video report that we've got about this and about what happened in the intervening period of time. In just 5 weeks, they've had 3 more murders. And, of course, they've learned their lesson. They're not recording what they're doing anymore, even though there is a massive ethical scandal there about a former police chief who bought who did a $2 million contract with Taser. And now we see that the London police are talking about wearing body cameras as well for a 1-year trial period. It doesn't help if they don't have to turn it on. And we're going to show you, after the break, we're going to show you this report. But now the London police are saying, we want the police to wear body cameras. It's a great idea if they turn it on. But if they don't do it, it doesn't help anybody. And, of course, in this shooting that they had in Albuquerque, where they didn't have the body camera on, they could have started it, and they could have exonerated themselves. They could have shown that the woman pointed a gun at them if they wanted to, but they chose not to activate the 30-second buffer on their video camera, not to turn it on at all. We're going to have that report right after the break. Stay with us.
Gentlemen, in search of $1 million smile that'll make them take notice, really get their attention? Then get the Mud. My Magic Mud. The fluoride-free whitener with no chemicals, additives, GMOs, or bad taste. And safe to swallow. My Magic Mud detoxifies, reduces sensitivity, cleans and strengthens your teeth while it whitens. Comes as a powder for pure whitening power. Start looking good for that special someone. Get the Mud now. MyMagicMud.com.
With the globalists making more and more advances into our freedoms every day and ruining our healthcare system, it's important to be able to take back control of our own personal healthcare. Colloidal silver water even fights against the new designer bugs. The best prices found anywhere, along with the highest quality. That's why you'll love silver creams and water from colloidalresearch.com. Silver's been used for thousands of years to fight against germs and bacteria because it works. Check it out for yourself at colloidalresearch.com or call 844-SILVER-4U.
That's the sound of your door being kicked in by an intruder with a single kick. Criminals know that your wooden door frames are weak and your alarm system can't keep them out. That's the sound of the same door now protected by the Door Sentinel. Standard locks, deadbolts, and alarm systems can't prevent forced entry. Harden your door and door jamb with a Door Sentinel. Protect your home now at mysafedoor.com. Go to mysafedoor.com for a special limited time offer. The Door Sentinel, your home's first line of defense.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Hi folks, Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his 2-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex.
Federal agents, we are armed!
What would you do if you knew all the things we know? Would you stand up for truth? Or would you turn away too?
That's right. Things are getting increasingly violent here in America. And as we were just talking before the break about the situation in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the video that outraged everyone when we saw this homeless man with his hands up, takes a small turn, and it's not threatening them in any way. He's not threatening anybody else. The police gun him down and then stick the dogs on him as he's dying. The dogs are chewing and biting his legs. Absolutely disgusting display of police brutality there. But what do they do when they've got a legitimate concern? We've got a case out of Miami. This is some footage we're going to roll here out of the CBS station in Miami. You've got a cop who is killed, and they start following this guy, and let's go to that report here and see what they do.
50-year-old Corsini Valdez. Both men were unarmed, trapped in the Volvo and going nowhere when police started shooting. Meanwhile, in the neighboring townhouses, more than a dozen families, including some 20 children, cowered in their homes.
Device in 1 year, body armor and helmet.
Shots fired between 62 and 64th Street off of 26th Avenue.
The gunfire that police officers north of the car were dodging came from newly arriving officers south of the car. Bullets were sprayed everywhere. They hit the Volvo, other cars in the lot, fence posts and neighboring businesses. They blasted holes in a townhouse. Anthony Vanderveer lives in that townhouse.
Shooting just wild, man. Just shooting all over the place, man. You know, bullets could have came through the window. Anything could have happened, man. They wasn't thinking, man. They wasn't thinking at all.
We need to establish that perimeter. I have not verified if the subject is down or not. We have the vehicle confined. The officers need to pay attention to the radio. They are not listening. Okay?
Pay attention to inner perimeter.
All right, let's pull that down because we're getting a lot of radio chatter there. Absolutely amazing what they did. 23 officers fired a total of 377 rounds. And as they pointed out, there were a lot of children in the area. There were a lot of buildings that were hit where innocent people were. This is a situation where these guys were not armed. There was one person with the guy who had shot the cop. They were not armed. They were not a threat to the police. It's one of the reasons why the police are supposed to arrest people. They could have had the wrong person. We saw this happen in L.A. They shot up the wrong car. They were looking for a black man in a pickup, and they shot up women, 2 white women in a van. I mean, it wasn't even close to matching the description. So are we going to allow police officers, when they feel threatened, when there's a cop that's been killed, are we going to give them carte blanche to just shoot everything in sight until they get somebody? This is what's really disturbing about this. Just like the situation that we saw in Albuquerque, here in Miami, they are shooting people that are not posing any threat to them or to the public at the time. If this guy is the guy who killed the cop, then he needs to be arrested and he needs to go through due process. The reason we have courts like that is so that you don't gun down innocent people in the streets. And they came very close to doing that. Now, there's also a case that came up yesterday. And this is happening everywhere, folks. This is in New York. And this is a young man, 20 years old, who is nearly beaten to death by the police there. Now, he was stopped and pulled over several times by the police there on Long Island in Nassau County, and he thought he was being harassed by the police, so he started filming them. That made the police very, very angry. And they threatened him, and they said, the next time you record me, I will use physical force to stop you. So what they did was they pulled him over again, harassing him, said, you've got a broken windshield, is why they said they pulled him over. They pull him over, they open the door, glove compartment, his paycheck starts to fly out. He goes to reach for it. Next thing he knows, he's kneed in the head. And they beat this guy nearly to death. They broke the bones in his face. But the irony of it is that he didn't record it on video, but a security camera caught it on video. We're going to follow that story as well as some other stuff. You can see that picture of him. Absolutely amazing. They tried to plant marijuana on him. They didn't even charge him for that. They just charged him for resisting arrest, I guess, with his face. We'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.